Dan untuk melihat kepada bursa Amerika dan juga apakah yang akan mempengaruhi bursa pada minggu ini, kita bersama dengan Jameel Ahmad, Pengarah Strategi Pelaburan NAGA Group. Jameel, thank you for joining us. Today was the first day of trading in the US for this week after the weekend. And seeing the president late on Sunday recovering, how did investors react to this new development?
So the odd thing is, if you look at the market reaction on Monday, we pretty much, you could say without looking at the market, or if you didn't know what was happening in the news, that there would be nothing at all that is wrong with the health of the United States president, because markets rallied globally. It was a risk-on day, guys. This is where stock markets are higher, riskier assets such as oil, emerging markets, the riskier currencies, which include the euro and the Australian dollar, they were all stronger as a result of, I would say, the improved external indications that the health of President Trump is in a good state as it appears externally. It seems to be that he is recovering, or that his health is not suffering from the positive coronavirus test, which is of course a good thing for markets and investors, because it just adds uncertainty knowing that he was unfortunately diagnosed, and markets investors do not like uncertainty. Having said that, we have to take each day as it comes, and to use the analogy with a pinch of salt, because the diagnosis, the days between 7 to 10 with the coronavirus are critical. So at the moment, we're only in maybe day 3 or day 4, given that we knew that the positive test as of Friday morning. So unless the expert care that he is receiving, which I do not doubt is very good care indeed, is contributing to his recovery, or that maybe he's taking medication that could lead us to a vaccine. And this might be why he's recovering so fast, because otherwise we have to just be, I would say we need to use the word of cautious optimism, because there are so many unknowns about this illness. And this might be another unknown now, how the president recovers, how fast he gets back to work, whether there's any implications. Of course, we do not hope that that is the case, but as an investor, you have to be aware of potential risks.
Jameel, do you think this sentiment could last until the end of this week? What other economic data will be released this week that could probably change this sentiment?
As long as the indications and the narrative provided from the Trump administration continues the positive tone of voice, then it is possible that markets can continue to trend higher, which if you looked at the initial shock on Friday, you wouldn't have expected this reaction at all. And that just goes to show how erratic and how unpredictable this market is to coronavirus related news, because even today, 6, 7, 8 months into the pandemic, there's still so much we do not understand about this virus. And that's why investors react very sensitively to any kind of headlines. Generally speaking, the health and updates on the President of the United States is considered as the tier 1 and major risk for markets this week. Having said that, we do still have a very busy agenda on the economic calendar front. Just in terms of the major economies, obviously on Tuesday you've got the major Australia Reserve Bank interest rate decision. We've got the presidential debate with the vice president scheduled for Wednesday night. We have the FOMC minutes, and we also have 2 scheduled speeches from the President of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, on top of other key metrics as well. So we do look at this week as being particularly busy for investors and financial assets.
And Jameel, what about the unemployment numbers for September? We saw job growth has slowed in the US. Is this a temporary incident? How are investors taking that in?
So the NFP ADP report for the United States, which is the monthly employment report that shows how many jobs the United States economy over the previous month, actually it was a mixed bag. So we could look at this for a glass half full. There were some good things in the data, but there was also some concerning aspects. Let's start with the good. So the good was that the unemployment rate fell to 7.9% from the forecast of 8.2%. This shows some improvement, but they were surprised that the United States economy only added 661,000 jobs during September, which didn't fit into the preliminary employment report, which is the ADP report 2 days before. Now that shows how many jobs the private sector added, and that report indicated that the United States economy added at least 749,000 jobs, whereas the official data suggests that it's only 660,000. Now these are still big numbers, but we have to take into account that the United States economy, even with this figure, is still without 10 million plus jobs as where it was before the pandemic. So the United States economy labor market is not in a recovering position as fast as the jobs that it lost. And this is where the concerns are, is that maybe, and hopefully not, a lot of these jobs are permanent job losses. They are not jobs that could have just been restored following the eased lockdowns, because obviously we would then see a stronger recovery. And it adds into what we're starting to see in other economic data releases throughout major economies, is that yes, there has been a rebound. Yes, things are looking a bit better than where they were 2 to 3 months ago. But at the same point, we are not anywhere near where we were 6 to 8 months ago, which still shows that, to be blunt, the world economy is still going backwards on the wheel, trying to catch up, and we haven't even reached where we were before yet.
And Jameel, I think many people are still waiting for the stimulus package to be passed in Congress. Trump tweeted on Saturday urging Congress to pass that particular bill. Do you think it could happen this week or maybe sooner?
So if anything that the economic data releases have told us recently, it is that economies and people on the ground still need further fiscal and government help. And I do think that we should see something announced before the US election in the United States. It might not be this week, but it would be better if it was this week, because we look at it from two different pictures. The first picture is obviously economic data that shows us that we need more. The second picture is that the presidential debate last week between the Democratic nominee Joe Biden and the Republican nominee and current US President Donald Trump, it was a complete shambles. It was an awful debate. There wasn't actually any debate at all that took place. And if you were an undecided voter heading into the November 3 elections, and by that I mean if you did not know which party to vote for, there is very little that you would have learned in the first round of the presidential debates that might have swung your support into either directions. You might even have decided not to vote at all, not even to bother. That was how little we learned from the debate. But if these political parties are able to come together, it can help, and it likely will help sway voters' minds towards who they vote for in the upcoming election. Obviously, and we all know that the United States president is better for the US economy, but what's better for the US economy isn't necessarily better for the world. At the same time, Joe Biden seems to have some very, very good ideas for how to strategically position the United States economy over the longer term, but those come at short-term drawbacks, such as probably you're going to see an increase in taxes and an increase in less business-friendly policies that President Trump has put into his own office over the past 4 years. So it's a tough one to choose if you're going to vote either way economically. But if there is a fiscal stimulus package, and if you are receiving some more support before the elections to get over what has been a horrific pandemic, you could get more voters and supporters from this. And this is why I do think they will try to announce something before November 3rd. If it comes as early as this week, even better.